Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon everyone. Okay, so for the segment for IGCSE Geography for today, we are going to talk about overpopulation. So before this, we have talked about what is the net migration and then the total population growth. So technically speaking, whenever we are having somewhere being populated by a number of group of people, you need to remember one of these things. There are some of the negative effects if the places are underpopulated, and there will be some sort of negative effect whenever the place is overpopulated. Okay, now, since we talk about the overpopulation for today, what happened here is you need to remember, overpopulation is the undesirable condition in which human population exceed the actual carrying capacity of the earth. Okay, so you need to remember, human population exceeding the capacity, exceeding the capacity itself, the capacity of the earth, means that when we talk about certain places or certain area, when it becomes so congested, and then when it becomes so congested, what happened here is it is exceeding the capacity, and that is when you see the place are overpopulated. So among those places, actually, when we talk about the overpopulation, one of the places would be India. India, especially in bigger cities such as Mumbai or Delhi. These are the places that we are considered as overpopulated. Okay, now, when we talk about the overpopulation itself, you need to remember one thing. There are various factors that are causing this phenomenon. Ada beberapa faktor yang menyebabkan fenomena ini terjadi. Okay, yang pertama sekali you need to remember, the first thing here is the causes of this overpopulation. Number one is the declining of the death rate. Okay, you need to remember the declining of the death rate. Death rate are declining. Okay. So why exactly the death rate is declining? First, you need to remember, when we enter the 21st century, you need to remember we have better medical facilities. And then after that, when we talk about the growing middle classes, you can access things such as the vitamins, supplements, and then these kinds of supplement actually can prolong your life expectancy. Therefore, people nowadays can easily live up to 70 years old or 80 years old. And at the same time also, when the death rate is declining, the birth rate is increasing. The birth rate is increasing. Therefore, when these two are quite imbalanced, what happened here is you will have the overpopulation problem. Okay, overpopulation problem. Okay, now, so we are not talking about the death rate only. Okay, even though yes, the death rate and the birth rate, if you have some of them imbalanced or getting imbalanced, what happened here is you won't have a stable population. So you need to remember the death rate must be what we call that complementing the amount of the birth rate. We don't want the death rate to exceed the birth rate, but then again, the birth rate also cannot far exceeding the death rate itself. You need to have some sort of stable numbers. Okay, now, so when we talk about the overpopulation itself, the second factors here is agriculture advancement. So what happened here is when we talk about the agriculture advancement, when we have agriculture advancement, what happened here is you will have lots of food resources. Okay, so number two here is agriculture. Okay, agriculture advancement, in which here we will have more food resources, and those food resources can actually accommodate for more people. Okay, accommodate more people, and that is when we will have the overpopulation problem. Not all the time, not all the time actually, but then again, since we have what we call that more access to food, and then what happened here is it leads to population explosions. Okay, now we move to the next one, which is the better medical facilities. As what I have said before, when you have better medical facilities, what happen here is you will have a prolonged life expectancy. Your life expectancy would become longer or higher. So before this, maybe people live up to 50 years old, but right now, since they have better medical facilities, better healthcare, and also easier access to healthcare, you can easily, or people are easily live up to 70 years old or 80 years old. Okay, because why? Because better medical facilities, we can treat diseases that before this what we call that create more fatalities. For example, tuberculosis. Tuberculosis before this, it kills so many people. But then again, with advancement of technology, advanced medical science, these kind of diseases can be treated easily whenever you go to the hospital. Therefore, before this, people died from tuberculosis. Now, in 21st century, it is a curable disease. It can be cured anytime. And in fact, what happened here is most dangerous, what we call that, most dangerous diseases before can easily be treated. Okay, for example, if we talk about the diseases, what we call that, causes by E. coli, for example, diarrhea. People, before this, people can easily die from diarrhea. But then again, right now, what happened here is, since we have better medical facilities, that can easily be treated. And that is why people can live up to 70 to 80 years old easily. Okay. The next part that I'm going to talk about is about poverty and education. Poverty and education. Now, why this part plays a significant role in the problem of overpopulation? You need to remember one thing. Without proper education, most of the time, people are not doing, or people mostly, they don't do the so-called family planning. They don't do that. They just simply go blindly without any plans. And then after that, what happened here is those actions backfire them. And then what happened here is, if you are caught or trapped in the poverty itself, some people or some communities or some societies tend to think that when you have more children means that more opportunity for you to make money. Okay, more children means that more opportunity for you to make money. I give you one example. So for example here, the those who are caught in the poverty, they have what we call that, the kind of thinking that once the children grow up, what happened here is they will be able to work. And once they are working, they can actually funding the family itself. But that is not necessarily true, because most of the time we know that people who came from poverty are usually associated with social problem. Not all of them, not all of them. But then again, you need to remember that when you are caught in the poverty, you have lack of opportunity, and then at the same time also you don't have a proper education. You somehow can get trapped into things like, for example, criminal activities, in which it can hinder your growth, and at the same time also it can destroy the entire institution. Therefore, with this kind of thinking, that is why poverty and education, or poverty and lack of education, I would say, of education, actually lead to overpopulation. So whenever we do something, we need a lot of planning. So family planning is very important. And as I have been talking about the total population growth between the MEDCs and the LEDCs, you know for a fact that people in the more economically developed countries, they put stresses more on the quality rather than quantity. Because if you have less children, you can put adequate amount of resources to make sure that they get the best education possible, they get the best opportunity possible, and at the same time also they are required, or they are equipped actually with all the skills that they need in order to survive. For example, if you put stresses on quality, you can send your kids to piano school, for example, I mean violin school, and then you can spend a little bit of your fortune to send them to the computer classes so that they can become competitive in life. But then again, these kind of children don't have that kind of opportunity. Okay, that is why poverty and lack of education must be abolished. Means that we need to find certain ways, or we must find certain ways in order to get rid all of these too. Make sure people have what we call that proper education, and at the same time also we will try to eradicate poverty, okay, the extreme poor group in the country. Okay, now surprisingly, what happened here is you also have a child labor. Okay, in certain countries, especially the developed countries, they still have this kind of problem, which is the child labor. Okay, child labor. Okay, so in countries that are still practicing child labor, there are advantages whenever you have lots of children. When you bear lots of children, you can send them to work, and then this become a child labor. This is something that is desirable, and then after that, this is the what we call that we are not preferred. These kind of things are not preferred in any ways. So what happened here is certain countries, especially the underdeveloped countries, they produce more children, meaning that the parents itself, they don't care how much children they have, because they know that they can send these children to work, and then at the same time also when the children get their wages or salaries, it can actually benefits the family. So that is why in most LEDC's country, child labor is still existing. Okay, and then after that you also have the technological advancement in fertility treatment. Fertility or kesuburan. Okay, fertility. Okay, or in Malay we call it as kesuburan. Kesuburan. I'm so sorry with my pen. Kesuburan. Okay, now when we talk about the fertility treatment itself, what happened here is we can overcome the problem of fertility. Okay, so what happened here is more and more people actually have the tendency or have the opportunity to have more babies. Okay, and the medicine itself could help the people who cannot have baby before, and now they can have one. Okay, that is what we call as the technological advancement in fertility treatment. Is it a good thing? Yes, it is a good thing. But then again, it must be controlled. That is why what we call the backbone or the main point of all of this is family planning. You should plan how much children you can bear. You cannot do everything blindly. Next one is immigration. Okay, as we have talked before in the paper discussion, you know what is immigration, and then you also know what is emigration. Okay, emigration. People coming in and people go out. Okay, when we have lots and lots of people going into our countries, what happened here is we become overpopulated. Or maybe I could also use the example of Mumbai and Delhi. Lots of places in India, not lots of places I would say, but certain places in India is still underdeveloped. And what happened here is more and more people are actually flooding Mumbai and Delhi, because these are the two major cities in India. And I think this is the same thing that we also face in Malaysia. Ini adalah benda yang kita sedang hadapi juga di Malaysia, yang mana more and more people from the rural area, kawasan kampung ni, they are migrating to the what we call that Klang Valley, for example. Okay, jadi mungkin kalau di Kuantan, for example, ada yang bermigrasi daripada kawasan Temerloh, ada daripada kawasan Bera, itu kawasan kampung yang mana tidak banyak kita panggil peluang. Jadi mereka bermigrasi pergi ke Kuantan, the major cities. And the same thing also happen throughout the countries. Macam you tengok, kebanyakan mereka yang duduk di negeri-negeri lain ni, mereka bermigrasi ke bandar-bandar besar. Jadi kita sudah tahu yang macam di Klang Valley itself, kita dapat lihat ramai orang bermigrasi ke sini yang mana ianya menjadi overpopulated. Overpopulated leads to many problems, such as number one, the cliche one is the congestion itself, traffic congestion, and then after that, the property prices skyrocket, rental prices skyrocket. Maksudnya dekat sini, harga rumah meningkat dengan mendadak, harga barang meningkat dengan mendadak, lepas tu pula harga sewa, the rental also akan meningkat dengan mendadak. Jadi sebab itulah sebenarnya ada banyak drawback apabila kita berhadapan dengan masalah overpopulation. Okay. Now, next. Oleh sebab itu, kita sebenarnya mesti kena melihat perkara ni dengan serius. People tend to think that, oh, overpopulation is a small matter, but then it is not. It is directly related to hygienic aspect of a place, kebersihan. And then selepas itu, what we call that, directly related to the quality of life. Macam kebanyakan orang yang tinggal di bandar-bandar besar, sebenarnya mereka tidak prefer untuk tinggal di bandar besar. To be honest, most of the wealthy people, they are not going to live in the middle of KL cities. No, they are not going to do that. What happened here is they buy some property at the outskirt or the what we call that the outskirt or the less urbanic area. And what happened here is there will be the place they are residing. Yes, of course, the office will be in KL City, but then again, they will be residing in the less urbanic area. Mereka akan tinggal di kawasan-kawasan di pinggir bandar, the outskirt. Okay, jadi dekat sini, bila masalah overpopulation berlaku, dia akan melibatkan banyak perkara seperti kadar jenayah meningkat, and then selepas itu pula kadar kebersihan yang tidak terjaga. Kita boleh tengok dengan mata kepala kita sendiri what happened to places such as mungkin Jalan Tar, Cokit dan sebagainya. Tempat-tempat yang menjadi tumpuan orang ramai ni. Bagaimana keadaannya apabila ianya terlampau overpopulated. Okay, so so the key takeaways here is, number one, you need to remember overpopulation is the undesirable thing. No one want that to happen, even though it is happening, especially in the large cities or in an urban area, in any places on earth. You kena ingat yang pertama sekali ianya disebabkan oleh kadar kelahiran yang sangat tinggi, tetapi pada masa yang sama kadar kematian yang rendah. You need to remember that kadar kelahiran dengan kadar kematian mesti seimbang in order to make sure that you don't have the population spike. Population spike ni peningkatan mendadak kepada kadar populasi. And then selepas itu kamu ada agriculture advancement. Okay, kemajuan dalam bidang pertanian, in which kemajuan dalam bidang pertanian ini sebenarnya menyebabkan kita mempunyai lebih banyak sumber makanan. Bila adanya banyak sumber makanan, apa yang akan jadi adalah dia akan menyebabkan explosion of population. Okay, explosion of population ni maksudnya kadar populasi akan bertambah dengan banyak. Sebab ada sumber makanan, maka sumber makanan itu sendiri, kalau you tahu graph supply and demand, harga makanan akan menjadi sedikit murah. Apa yang akan jadi adalah kita lebih mudah untuk mengakses makanan, dan pada masa yang sama we have the confidence to build family and to give birth to children, more and more children. Okay, and then lepas tu ya ada what we call that better medical facilities. Jadi kita dah tahu kalau you ada better medical facilities, you punya life expectancy ataupun kadar jangka hayat yang lebih panjang. Jadinya kalau dulu mungkin orang boleh hidup cuma 40-50 tahun dan akhirnya meninggal dunia disebabkan certain penyakit, sesetengah penyakit. Tetapi sekarang ini apa yang jadi adalah anda mempunyai kemudahan perubatan yang lebih bagus yang mana membolehkan anda hidup 70 ke 80 tahun dengan sihat dan tak ada masalah. And then lepas tu pula anda kena ingat problem of poverty and education, lack of education. Jadi kemiskinan dan juga kurangnya akses kepada pendidikan yang berkualiti ini menyebabkan overpopulation. Kenapa? Kemiskinan akan menyebabkan satu keluarga tu berfikiran yang dia ada banyak anak, anak ni nanti bila dah besar boleh bekerja dan boleh bantu mereka sekeluarga. Anak ramai, jadi bila boleh bekerja, maka banyak sumber pendapatan. But then again, itu bukanlah benda yang kita boleh kata akan berlaku. Ada setengahnya ya, mereka berjaya buat benda tu, tapi kebanyakannya tidak. Sebab apabila anda terperangkap dalam kemiskinan, sebenarnya banyak anasir-anasir yang boleh merosakkan struktur keluarga anda. Contohnya jenayah, aktiviti pengedaran dadah, lepas tu pula prostitution ataupun pelacuran dan sebagainya. And then itulah sebabnya kita perlukan pendidikan yang berkualiti, kerana apabila keluarga ini terdidik, maka mereka akan lebih orang kata fokus kepada family planning. Jadi mereka tahu berapa ramai ya anak yang mereka nak lahirkan dan berapa ramai anak yang mereka sudah sedia untuk besarkan. Dan lepas pula ada child labor itself, child labor ataupun perhambaan kanak-kanak. Yang mana child labor ni biasanya berlaku di negara-negara yang kurang maju. Okay, kurang maju, dan di sana apabila child labor ni ada, maka anak-anak ni instead of dihantar ke sekolah, mereka dihantar bekerja. Dan parents sebenarnya mengharapkan duit daripada anak tu sendiri apabila anak tu terlibat dalam child labor. Dan kebanyak masalah-masalah yang akan berlaku apabila kita bercerita tentang overpopulation. Okay, that's all from me for today. Okay, thank you so much for listening. If you have any question, you can drop in the comment section below. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.